What was I just saying? I was just saying we have nothing but interesting things to say all the time.
That's not true.
I know.
The fuck?
I just thought if I said it out loud, my ego would feel better.
No.
No, it actually feels worse because now I feel like a narcissist.
No, it's okay to feed your ego.
Of course, just in a healthy manner.
But what is... I would even go as far to say is sometimes you have to be so braggadocious just to convince yourself to attack tasks that seem impossible to you, right? Like there's so much in life that's going to tell you that you can't do something. And so you have to almost compensate for the world's negativity with, I would say, almost a rational confidence that some people will say is arrogance, but really it's just enough for you to survive.
It's a tightrope to walk, honestly. That line between confidence and arrogance. And some people that are arrogant really can't tell the difference.
Well, I mean, but I would say it's arbitrary. It depends on who you're talking to. And what I'm saying is for practical reasons, for stuff for your life, you have to be arrogant. Like I even told my family this, like arrogance is good. And my mom and dad were like,
but like anything, it's, in moderation too.
Oh, sure. Well,
if your personality is just being arrogant, then
fair.
Nobody's going to want to be around you unless you're probably paying them to be around you.
But that also goes against it being practical, right? Like if you adopt any behavior that makes people not want to be around you, then I would say that that's a bad behavior. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying for specific tasks, you have to believe in yourself enough to compensate for just the amount of doubt that is just naturally in this world. There's just a ton of things in society that tells you why you can't do stuff, and it makes it so that we don't consider why we can do stuff. I've seen it in my life where there were times when I just put my head down and worked, and it wasn't even about like confidence or arrogance or anything. It's just I just didn't even know how to stop, and to somewhat my own detriment, but I think if I went from the perspective of actually saying I can do this instead of just going through things and not thinking about them at all, it would have done a lot better. Yeah, it just to speak those words into existence,
I agree.
Just for me.
I agree.
This was a terrible way to introduce this.
No, it's a very insightful thought, and honestly, it's interesting that we talk about ego and we talk about going against the grain and doing things that everybody else kind of doesn't think that you can accomplish.
Davis.
Don't challenge my open line, bro. I can connect the two things that are so disconnected.
Live from Saturday night. No.
Well, thank you for everybody for tuning in. And live from DC, it's Loose Leaf Media. It's Loose Leaf Media with... What do you want your name to be this episode?
Genghis Ram.
Fuck you. Okay. I'm not talking about that. So, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Loose Leaf Media. This is the Loose Leaf Media podcast. My name is Davis Leaf. I'm here with my co-host,
Chevy Race.
Fair. Not bad. And today, we are talking about the new biographical comedy, Saturday Night. And it's about the first ever recorded episode of Saturday Night Live. And if you haven't heard of Saturday Night Live, you might not live in America. I mean that as a compliment.
Oh, whoa. Okay. I do not share the beliefs of my co-host.
No, you were just telling me. You were just telling me like right before we started recording about like how it's just like do non-Americans even talk about it.
Stop it. How dare you? Look, I'm an asshole. So we didn't, by the way, that was not planned, that intro. You just spun it. Very clever and also stupid.
It was very stupid.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Do you watch Saturday Night Live?
Not modern Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
So, like, my history with Saturday Night Live is the person that really got me into the show, the comedian that got me into the show was Will Ferrell back in the early 2000s when I was watching episodes of Saturday Night Live at that time. And, like, I was like, this guy is very funny. I really like this guy I like his skits that he's doing on this episode because it's sketch comedy. But, I was very intrigued by what the show was because of that actor, particularly. And so around that time, I started watching more and more episodes, and that was kind of during the prime Jimmy Fallon, Tina Fey era of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
and I think every generation has their own differing opinions about when the best era of Saturday Night Live was, but
sure.
For me, I loved that time period of Saturday Night Live. I loved a lot of the sketches. I loved watching Will Ferrell perform as George W. Bush at that time. I loved Dana Carvey during that time as well. I thought he was a great cast member. He was a little bit more like late 90s, I believe, though, too. I might be wrong. It might have been somewhere else in the 90s. But I have admiration for components of Saturday Night Live. I think the idea is very good. I think it's pretty brilliant, honestly. I think it's a lot of fun, and it always leaves a lot of room for creativity. And so during a little bit of the early periods, during like the 70s and the 80s of Saturday Night Live, there were a lot of influential cast members during that time period as well. Obviously, this movie is depicting an era that included big names like Dan Aykroyd or
Chevy Chase. Not to be confused with Chevy Race.
No, not you at all. Billy Crystal, even George Carlin. What was his name? John Belushi.
Billy Preston.
Billy Preston.
Paul Schaefer.
So a lot of big names at that time. And Nicholas Braun is in the movie, and he plays two roles.
Yeah.
He plays Andy Kaufman and Jim Henson. And that was a fun little thing that the movie did.
Very interesting.
It was a very interesting choice. But then, eventually you get to the 90s and you get more people like Chris Farley or David Spade and even Adam Sandler. And that was fun, and I enjoyed that era as well too. But I think over the last decade and a half or so, there's definitely been like a lot of components missing when it comes to a lot of the creativity and the genuine humor of it. Where I think there were a lot of points in Saturday Night Live where it was genuinely funny in history and even more creative and original than it is today. And now it just feels like it's continued out of historical obligation almost. Because Lauren Michael is still like the main producer of the show. And I don't really watch a lot of contemporary SNL. We were hanging out over the weekend at one point, and we were having a drink at a bar, and we were kind of tuning into a couple moments of an episode of Saturday Night Live that was premiering with, I think it was Ariana Grande that was hosting the episode. And we're just watching the cast list for the opening. And I'm like, I don't know who any of these people are anymore. I really don't. I think I knew of like Bowen Yang. Kenan Thompson is still on the show. I believe he's the longest running SNL cast member
Michael
in
Che
history.
still on?
Michael Che and Colin Jost still both host the Weekend Update, which has always been the most consistently enjoyable part of that show.
It's probably my favorite part of the show. I've never really watched it, but I remember talking to older people in my family how like when Saturday Night Live used to come on in bars or wherever, people would just tell everyone else to shut up and everybody would watch Saturday Night Live.
It used to be more of a cultural sensation than it is now.
And it just, I think we're just a part of the generation where it doesn't occupy nearly as much of the social consciousness as it used to. I don't know anyone who regularly watches the show.
I don't either. Maybe there are younger generations that are still tuning in, or like older generations that are showing some of their kids this show because they used to love it and they want to get them into it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But even today, it's just like when I see SNL announced some of who the guest hosts will be for their seasons, I see some people like online will talk about it and they'll say things like, "Oh, these are exciting choices. These are exciting guest hosts." And then that makes me think, so are people watching this?
I don't know. Maybe I agree with you. I think most of the story is about the guest host than the actual comedy, or no, even more so the musical guest.
Oh yeah,
I think
lately
that is
musical
much
guests
more.
have definitely generated a lot more views, I think, from that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like 2 years ago when Kendrick Lamar performed on SNL. That was such a big deal, it felt like.
Yeah.
Because, Kendrick Lamar is Kendrick Lamar, and he just like dips out of, the atmosphere and then dips back in whenever he wants to, so people will tune in. But that felt like a very enriching moment too. But there's also a lot of other musical guests that will perform on SNL, and that's what everybody goes to see.
Yeah, I remember watching SZA right after Control was out, and man, just wonderful performance.
Great
but I don't
performance,
remember the
yeah.
episode,
No,
and I watched the whole.
You don't
episode,
even know
I
who the
think.
guest host was.
I just remember SZA. That's it.
That's fair, as you should. Everybody always remembers SZA.
Right.
That's a good thing.
So, what do you think of the movie, Davis?
I had fun. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very, very rich dialogue, really well written, pretty funny at times. Great cast. I really enjoyed the cast. So the movie itself is directed by
Jason Reitman,
who
also directed Up in the Air.
Up in the Air. Thank you for Smoking, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
He's a really good director.
Very solid movies.
And he's also the son of Ivan Reitman, who's the director of the original Ghostbusters film. And Jason Reitman recently would go on to direct those new ones with like Paul Rudd and that guy from Stranger Things.
Yeah. It is a...
I didn't see either of those new Ghostbusters movies.
I forgot they existed.
Hilariously, like there was also a Ghostbusters movie from almost 10 years ago that was a remake that was starring basically all SNL cast members.
The female, the women cast members from SNL. Don't cancel me. But yeah,
Ghostbusters, the female one.
The female one.
I didn't see that one either.
It's not misogynistic, that movie.
It's not misogynistic.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know what that means.
It's the callback from The Exorcist.
Yeah.
No, anyway.
Spoiler alert, we have recorded this episode back to back with our Exorcist episode.
Yes, before you jump on me on that joke, please listen to that episode. Anyway.
Just listen to it, because please, we're desperate. Nobody's listening to us.
When you told me, hey, let's review Saturday Night, I had seen previews for it, and I was like, like, I do like the old cast more, like Chevy Chase and who else is in this movie? Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd,
also from Ghostbusters.
John Belushi. I love John Belushi.
John Belushi's great.
So
he's an icon in physical comedy.
Yeah, to see those characters be played by today's actors, younger actors, was like, I don't know. It just, the movie at first didn't seem appetizing, but I will say I enjoyed it. It was good. Yeah. Did it blow me away? No. Yeah. But there's enough drama, and it's a comedy drama. I think that the drama is a bit better than the comedy. But overall, like, enjoyable movie. Yeah, I would say.
I enjoyed it. Again, nothing really to write home about too much, but it's a good movie to go see in theaters on a Saturday night instead of watching an actual episode of Saturday Night Live.
Well, that's just damn.
I enjoyed this movie more than any episode I've seen of Saturday Night Live in years.
Well, that's because, and I have an answer for that. This movie is probably not rated R, but it's PG-13 or something. No,
it's rated R. They say fuck every other word in this movie.
And
they're doing cocaine and shit.
There's flash of penis in this movie.
Yeah, that was...
we'll talk about that a bit later, maybe.
That was interesting.
Or maybe now we'll just say that and just not...
I mean, that was a nice kind of way to nod just kind of the harassment that was going on behind the surface.
It was nice to nod at the harassment.
acknowledge it.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's good that the movie acknowledged that kind of shit.
All right. I mean, yeah, probably. But so sure. And I think that humor, that crass humor, is just more appealing to adults like us than Saturday Night Live, which is a show that should appeal. Like, it's it's in prime time. It's at night, but their comedy is a little more.
It's pretty sanitized.
Yeah, it's more palatable to more audiences.
They play it a lot safer.
Yeah, you can't curse. There's no like sex. Well, I mean, maybe there are sex jokes.
Yeah, there's constant innuendos.
Yeah.
And everything that are made on the show. It's not like it's still like a PG-13, TV-14 type show.
Yeah,
but it's not like an R-rated movie like this one is.
But it makes it more enjoyable. I love R-rated comedies
because it feels more realistic.
Yeah.
And I just got to say, I think my favorite component about the movie is that it does feel like everything is in real time, which I'm pretty sure it actually is.
It's 90 minutes. It is the 90 minutes leading up to when they air the first episode.
And so everything moves very smoothly, and everything is always moving like it's in real time. Even the opening of the movie is like, I think, like a 10-minute one take of Lorne Michaels walking through the NBC studio, seeing everything is getting ready. There's really cool references to a lot of old sketches. I see like there's a land shark at one point in the background, and I was like, oh, that's that's cute. I like it.
There's a lot going on. It's a big production that they're just frantically putting together.
Yeah,
and the last minute.
And you feel it. It's a pretty fast-paced movie.
Yeah, and that's probably the best aspect of this movie, is that you do feel the pressure that Lorne Michaels is feeling throughout this movie, where there's half of the cast and crew are taking this seriously. They're doing their jobs, but it is just so untangled that there's a lot of chaos going on, even though that these people are diligently doing their jobs. And then there's the other half that aren't doing their jobs.
Just don't give a shit.
Don't give a shit. There's people smoking and playing poker. And like and they're the crew. They should be working on the lighting or the sound production, but they have jobs that needs to be done to get this production going, but they're not doing it.
It's just like because nobody cares, and it's like
it
is nice. Like, because for starters, Gabriel LaBelle as Lorne Michaels, he gives a really good performance. I really like him as the lead, and this is the first movie I've seen him in since he had kind of like his breakout in Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans. Which he was terrific in that movie, and this was a good follow-up role for him. But like, you feel that pressure from him throughout the entire movie to make sure that sets are ready, costuming is ready, lighting is ready.
There's a live llama in the hallway.
That the actors are, coherent enough to go on stage. There's a couple of moments where he takes a lot of these actors aside and is speaking to them directly, but like particularly I love a lot of the scenes that he has with John Belushi in the movie, who I'm trying to remember who played
Matt Wood.
He's great.
Yes,
he's really good,
and he looks a lot like John Belushi. They do a great job on his makeup and his mannerisms.
Yeah, his performance as Belushi is wonderful in this movie. Really good.
I will say, every performance is really good. This is strong.
It is a strong
cast.
It is a strong cast. I love Dylan O'Brien as Dan Aykroyd. Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase.
My favorite part of this movie.
Yeah, he's terrific. He's really good.
He was the funniest. He looked the most like the person he's portraying in the movie. Maybe besides Matt Wood as John Belushi.
Yeah. Rachel Sennett is really good as Rosie Schuster.
Yes, there's a lot of, most of the characters in this movie you probably won't recognize the actors. They're very young, but then you have A-listers like Willem Dafoe and J.K. Simmons, and
John Batiste is Billy Preston in the movie too, which was was kind of funny. I was just like, is that John Batiste?
When I left the movie theater, I just played Nothing from Nothing in my car. It's like, nice. Nothing from nothing, least nothing.
I'm always playing.
Gotta have something.
Right.
If it be me, I love it. Yeah, that fucking song was in my head all day.
Nice.
I loved it.
Love it.
Yeah, but
Nicholas, like we said, Nicholas Braun plays two roles in the movie as Andy Kaufman and Jim Henson.
Yeah,
I love that line. Just like, they took Big Bird and strapped him over my desk and hung him there. Yeah. Just the way he talks. Like you said, it's very crass and deadpan at the same time.
The thing is, he just reminds me so much of Greg from Succession that it just felt like Greg dressed up as other characters. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, but I think that kind of added to that humor of it all too.
Maybe.
Because he's playing these iconic characters, and so it just added to a lot to the circus of this entire situation, where you're watching one actor play two people in the same time, when you have all of these, many of whom in this cast are like actually pretty well-known actors. Like Dylan O'Brien is pretty well-known, and he's playing Dan Aykroyd.
Yes.
But I still feel like I'm watching a younger Dan Aykroyd when watching this movie. But I know that that's Dylan O'Brien. And then Nicholas Braun will come right in and just be like, hi, I'm Andy Kaufman.
No, yeah, the cast is really strong.
Cooper Hoffman, too, was in this. Philip Seymour Hoffman's son.
Yes.
He was like kind of like the production assistant or something.
No, Dick Ebersol is the producer.
Yes,
Lorne Michaels.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and man, that kid can act.
Did you see Licorice Pizza?
Yes.
Oh my God, he's such a good actor.
He is a good actor.
Like,
and
literally like father, like son. He'd be so, like, Philip would have been so proud of him.
Rest in peace, man.
Rest in peace to one of the
my favorite actor of all time.
One of the greatest actors that ever lived.
Yeah, Cooper Hoffman, there's a lot of comedy in this movie. Some of it is great, some of it does lack, but I think all of the drama really hits.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good dialogue scenes between
Lorne Michaels, and Dick Ebersol.
That too, but I was also going to say Rosie, his the head writer and his wife at the time.
Yes,
and there's a lot of really good exchanges between all those characters.
And let's get into those relationships, because they're constantly, you're constantly being bounced around between these different relationships in this movie. So you have, like you said, Lorne Michaels and then Rosie Schuster. They are working on the show together, but they're also married, but their relationship is in limbo. They're caught in a love triangle with Dan Aykroyd, right? And so it's not really petty. There's no anger, but they're just like, we're focused on this show, and then our relationship, we do love each other, but our marriage is probably over. And it sort of played okay. And Rosie is also probably the most helpful in this movie to Lorne Michaels of trying to keep everything together. She's the one that can rein in John Belushi when he's having fits. Like, she's the one that can communicate with the writers. There's also the relationship between Lorne Michaels and Dick Ebersol, where
I love that staircase dialogue that they have in that movie at that point. That was one of my favorite scenes.
That was the moment when I was like, this movie's actually good.
I know, right? It's just like, this is a well-written movie.
It is.
And it's written by Jason Reitman, but also co-written by Gil Kenan, who was the filmmaker who made Monster House, if you ever saw Monster House.
I did.
Yeah, really good movie.
Yeah, Lorne Michaels, throughout this movie, his hair is on fire. He's trying to get shit together. And Dick Ebersol is this producer who works for NBC, and he's the company man. He's trying to get everything under control. He has bosses to answer to, and Lorne Michaels is getting Dick Ebersol's help, but he's not really listening to all of Dick Ebersol's advice and stuff that he needs to do. Like, oh, we should find a way to include these products as advertisement into the skits. And, like this and that, like, are you over budget? What's the budget? What is the show? And there's a scene where these two characters are on a staircase, and Lorne Michaels is just pointing at Dick Ebersol. You've never had my back during this. Like, you have no stake in this. And Dick Ebersol just, Cooper Hoffman gives this just great speech back. It's like, I've had your back since day one. I'm just as invested in this as you are, and I've
been the one keeping this thing afloat. While I allow you to do whatever you want, and like focus on the creative side of everything. And it's just like he's the one talking to all the investors and like all of the network executives. One of whom is Willem Dafoe's character. And it's a wholesome moment. I like that, but also heated, because you sense the friendship and that is in jeopardy between the two of them as well. But it's really good stuff.
Little known fact, Dick Ebersol is the reason why the NFL has such a just firm grip on TV rights in this country.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And the Olympics. That guy.
Yeah, I knew. I think I did know that about the Olympics.
That guy is a genius when it comes to TV production.
Yeah, televising these events.
Yeah, and especially, I didn't even know he was involved with SNL, but like, now that I think about it,
he was clearly instrumental.
Oh, for sure.
For the first episode here. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. The more I talk about it, I do actually really like this movie. There is one main issue that maybe we can get into later, but we'll talk about some other things. Let's talk about some of the other performances.
Yeah.
Who you got?
So, like, we had Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase, who is he just gets lost in his character. He has some of the funniest lines of dialogue in this entire movie. Mm-hmm. Like, just the first line that he even says in this movie is just so out of pocket.
He comes
so
in.
Great.
Yeah.
He falls over a trash can, and then Lauren Michaels and Dick Emerson just kind of like look behind them, and there he is walking, and he's like, "Sorry, tripped over my penis."
Yeah,
and
that's and it's in the previews.
Like, but it's just like, that is the most Chevy Chase thing to say ever.
Yeah,
like I think about like his time even on Community, the show Community. It's just like, that is the stuff that comes out of his mouth constantly, even in that show.
Oh, I love him.
Such a Chevy Chase thing to say.
Apparently, he's a big asshole.
I've heard he's one of the most difficult people to work with.
Yeah,
but the movie kind of shows that too.
Yeah.
That he doesn't seem like he would be the easiest person to work with. It doesn't glorify it whatsoever, but it just shows that he's probably kind of a dick to work with.
Yeah, no, I believe
he's
it.
Constantly funny. It's very effortless to him. It seems like, and the way that Corey Michael Smith portrays that is very it's seamless. How much he depicts Chevy Chase.
There's one scene in this movie where there's just a big dark room full of these like TV execs, and you would think, how can anyone make this group of people laugh? It's just these old white men in cowboy hats and cowboy boots. They're smoking cigars, they're drinking scotch, and it just, this room is packed to just beyond belief.
Yep.
And Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase gets on the stage and starts just doing these jokes, and he starts making the room laugh. They're actually funny, and he just looks like a hippie to them. Like what is this show? Who are these people?
Because it shows that he just feels like a natural born comedian.
Yeah.
And there's another character in this movie who also embodies that too, but he's not really in the movie too much. They use him very sparingly, but Matthew Ray's performance as George Carlin, he doesn't really appear until like halfway through the movie, even though he gets name dropped a couple times. And then when he does appear, have you ever seen like The Americans? That show on FX? Yeah.
He's also in God damn it, he's in the HBO show. It's the detective.
Oh, Perry Mason.
Perry Mason.
Yeah, he plays. He's the
really
new
good
iteration of Perry Mason. Yeah, I've heard that too. He was great. He was really good in his few scenes as George Carlin, and George Carlin is just one of the greatest stand-up comedians of all time.
You can tell Matthew Ray's had a great time playing George Carlin.
He felt like the person that was trying to impersonate the person that they were portraying in the movie, when everybody else just kind of feels like they're interpreting them.
Yeah.
But like, it feels intentional too, because George Carlin is such a like expression-driven guy and very vibrant. And he definitely always feels like he's on coke throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
And he's always yelling throughout this movie, but he's really good. He's really funny, and I love every single scene with him, but he's again used very sparingly in the movie, which was nice. It was nice. Lamar Morris played Garrett Morris in this movie as well. No relation, but Lamar Morris, I love Lamar Morris. He's a great actor. And he's really nice as Garrett Morris. And, there's that little subtle social commentary about, what it means to be a person of color in this industry that's kind of bled into the movie. They don't really dwell on it, but there is that really good scene kind of in the beginning where it's just an exchange between Garrett Morris and what's his face?
John Batiste? Billy Preston?
Billy Preston, yes. I like that little exchange of dialogue that they have at the beginning of the movie, too.
Yeah, it was good. John Batiste is really chill.
Yeah.
As Billy Preston.
He's just kind of he really just feels like John Batiste as Billy Preston in this movie, but it's nice. It's fun.
It is fun.
Some things really just feel like they're just on the surface, if you know what I'm saying, where it's just like, it doesn't feel like they're trying to hide the actor too much.
No, yeah.
But other performances feel like they are. Like when John Batiste or Nicholas Braun, it's just like, you see the actor there pretty clearly. They're not trying to hide themselves too much. They're just playing somebody incredibly famous and influential.
Yeah. It's kind
of. And
of.
then you have a Corey Michael Smith who just get completely lost in their performance, and you feel like you're actually watching a younger version of the person they're playing.
It's kind of meta, because in the show Saturday Night Live, they do a lot of impressions, and depending on the actor, they're trying to imitate a character like Donald Trump or Alex Trebek, and then there's other characters where that I am just trying to play as this person. I'm playing a caricature of this real life person, and I don't care if that if you can see who's actually playing this character. I don't know if that made sense.
No, I know what you mean.
John Batiste actually did the score for the movie.
He did, yeah.
And it also is really good because it's just like very jazzy. It's like
which is very reminiscent of like the musical cue for the SNL intro.
Yes.
Has he ever done like a original score for a film before, I wonder?
I'm not sure. He probably has.
Maybe. I mean, he's a pretty influential musician at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I love him. I think he's terrific.
Yeah.
That was a great... What's funny is that's like, when you realize that it's John Batiste, it's so obvious to me, but I honestly didn't realize it immediately. It took me a second to realize that was John Batiste playing.
Well, because you question it really quickly, like, is that John Batiste? And then it shows his face a bit more, and it's like, okay, that's John Batiste. I will say there's one major aspect I did not like about this movie.
Okay.
This movie focuses mostly on the men.
Yeah.
And it does a great job at giving the men a lot of depth in this movie. I would say most of the main cast gets an actual storyline. Even like I know that what's the black guy's name again?
Lamar Morris.
Lamar Morris, who plays Garrett Morris. Like, yes, he doesn't get a ton of it doesn't expand a lot on his thoughts on what it means to be a black man in this role and the only like person of color on this first cast, right? But he still gets several scenes where he's talking to people about this feeling, or like you still see him go through this thought process.
He's very three-dimensional.
Yes. The women are mostly given none of that.
They don't get the same treatment. Rachel Sennett,
Rosie Schuster.
Rachel Sennett does,
yeah.
And she's great. She's really good in this movie. This is honestly probably the most dramatic role that I've seen her play ever before, and it really shows this. Like, she's got some good range as an actor.
She does, and anything that I'm saying is not actually. I'm not saying anything wrong with the actual acting. This is more an issue with the writing.
Yeah,
of
I
the
know.
show,
I completely
right?
agree with you.
The actresses are great as these characters. They still
like Ella Hunt
do stuff.
is in the movie even.
As Gilda Radner.
Yeah, she's really good too.
But what I'm saying is just the writing is really thin for these characters. They're not really given anything to do as far as the drama side. Like, they're part of jokes. Yeah. But like, besides Rosie Schuster being in this love triangle, so her drama is attached to these two men, and then you have Gilda Radner. I think she's in love with Dan Aykroyd too. So like
Kara Garber. She was I think Chevy Chase's girlfriend in the movie.
Yes.
And she has a few scenes. She's the person that technically kind of gets sexually harassed.
Yes.
By
Chevy Chase.
Technically, when fucking J.K. Simmons as Milton
Berle
comes out and just pulls his dick out right in between them.
Yeah,
and it's just like,
which apparently he did a lot.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yeah, it's So that's a good point though. Really, one of the only dramatic things that happens to Chevy Chase's fiance in that movie is Milton Berle pulls his penis out.
Yeah. Which is like not really the only thing that you want to associate your woman character with.
Exactly.
Like a situation like that. That's
besides Rosie Schuster, tell me one important dramatic thing about any of these female characters.
And that's the issue, isn't it?
Right, yeah. Like you can't give me anything reasonable. So that's really it.
Like, no, that's a very valid criticism, and like halfway through the movie, I was noticing that too, and I was just like Rachel Sennett is doing such a good job in this movie. It can almost be distracting to that notion, but it's very, very glaringly apparent. And even though there's not like a huge minority cast in this movie either, in terms of like people of color, The one person of color that's like very prominent, that being Lamar Morris's performance as Garrett Morris, they have a couple of standout moments that give them very three-dimensional character development.
Yes.
And besides Rachel Sennett's character, none of the other women characters get any of that. And there's a lot more women characters in this movie than there are people of color. So.
Yes. and I think there's 4 women of 4 men, right? In the cast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so but the men probably make up 95% of the drama in the movie, the actual storytelling. Yeah.
Which, in that industry during that time also isn't the most off base either.
Well, I was actually going to say that, like, even just the female cast members that we think about on Saturday Night Live, like, how far can you go back past, like Tina Fey,
Amy Poehler
era, can you go beyond that? I can't think of a single female cast member.
It wasn't as popular at the time.
And especially the success that they got, right? Because we're like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler
became 2 of the biggest comedians of the past 2 decades.
Hosted the Oscars and had their own shows like 30 Rock and Parks and Recreation. Forget about it. Those were great shows.
2 monumental sitcoms.
Movies. And then now today, you have the black woman that plays Kamala and Beyonce.
Maya Rudolph was she was at the same time, too.
Was she? Mm-hmm. As Tina Fey?
Yeah. She was on the show around the same time.
Damn. Okay. Then I can't think of a woman from today's cast.
Well, in the 2010s, we had like Kate McKinnon and
sure.
Leslie Jones.
Yes, Leslie Jones.
Who did go on to become very, very popular too. Yeah, and I enjoy them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they're during that era that I kind of stopped continuously watching SNL. Yeah. They were 2 of the highlights of that show.
They were in great movies like the Ghostbusters remake.
Yeah. See, Kristen Wiig also.
Yes.
Yeah. It was also during that period of like Amy Poehler and Tina Fey.
She was also in.
Yes. Ghostbusters I know. That's why I made the connection.
Successful
Romanus. movie. I like Kristen Wiig a lot too.
She's terrific. But they were also, if we're being for real, one of the most underrated comedies I think ever. Bridesmaids.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I think a very underrated.
What's funny
comedy.
too, Bridesmaids is terrific,
yeah.
And that's why Paul Feig also ended up casting people like Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy in the Ghostbusters movie.
Because lightning strikes twice, man.
Yeah, of course. Bridesmaids is great, but what's funny also about SNL is I think the last SNL sketch that got really, really genuine laughs out of me was in early 2017. When Melissa McCarthy made a guest appearance as Donald Trump's PR manager, Sean Spicer.
Yeah.
And I laughed so fucking hard during that sketch. And I think that's the last time I laughed that hard out of anything that SNL has done. That was genuinely hilarious.
Yeah.
But what's funny is I think a lot of the women cast members at the start of the 21st century SNL era have carried that show a lot more.
For sure.
Yeah.
Especially the Tina Fey.
Tina Fey was never nearly... like, when you think about, like, Jimmy Fallon was a big deal then. Jimmy Fallon was leagues below Tina Fey.
For sure.
And he always has been. I'll never understand why that guy was always so popular, and still is for some reason. I think Jimmy Fallon's annoying as shit.
Yeah.
But it's like they both hosted Weekend Update together, and I was just like, why the fuck is Jimmy Fallon even here? Get him the fuck out of here. I'm just here to listen to Tina Fey read me the fake news.
Yeah. No, Tina Fey is great. No, there's like, now that I think about it, there is but between the 2000s and then when I would say like maybe when Keenan was like became the biggest star on the show, I would say the women were dominating.
They
SNL.
really were.
Yeah. Kristen Wiig,
which is why it's like
Amy Poehler.
That criticism of this movie is a little bit more interesting for that reason too, because it's like you'd think you want to showcase the background of how like instrumental a lot of the women were in the development of the show, because many of them were writers on the show at that time.
They get nothing except to be in the support of the men. They either have nothing or like, even there's one scene, I forget which actress is with him, but there's a scene that Lamorne Morris has with another actress, and he's talking about how he doesn't feel like he belongs, and she's just sort of counseling him.
Yeah.
And it's great, but it's like, like, how did she come to have this ideology? You know, what is her actual mindset?
Exactly. Like how is she able to relate to that sentiment that he's sharing with her?
And
She's
and
not
you
just there to be her his therapist.
Yeah, and you just don't get it.
No.
And I mean, I will say, even I don't know if this is just one of those things where people just rewrite history, and we write history the way that we just want to remember it. But
maybe
like,
but because I'm pretty sure, did Ivan Reitman have writing credits on SNL at that time?
I don't know.
I'm gonna look this up. I don't know like how much sentimentality Jason Reitman has for this show personally. Okay, I doesn't look like he did. Television. Yeah, he didn't have any credits that related to Ivan Reitman. Didn't have any credits that related to SNL. So
yeah,
I don't really know what possessed Jason Reitman to make this movie, and he did a really good job of making this. But
absolutely.
that is definitely a legitimate criticism, and we saw this like almost a week ago now, and I honestly haven't read a ton of people's opinions on it because I don't think it's doing that well at the box office right now.
No, not when you have movies like the Terrifier 3 and Megalopolis.
Of course.
You have just movies like what else is out?
And plus, it's also, again, people don't give a shit about Saturday Night Live anymore.
Yeah, if this movie came out 25 years ago, I think it would have done better.
Easily,
right?
Easily, this would have broken the bank opening weekend.
Because I still think. When it was, because now this is the 50th anniversary of SNL,
and I think like time wise, like that's sentimental, and that makes sense why a movie like this would be released at 50 years of the show's existence.
Sure,
but it's like it's not at the height of its popularity whatsoever. No. You think about when The Social Network was made, and that was made like only a few years after the popularity of Facebook had began.
Sure,
so that was prime time to have that movie made, and for that movie to turn out as well as it did is kind of impressive. But that's just a collaborative effort of David Fincher and Aaron Sorkin.
Oh, God.
So that makes sense.
Yes.
But this is a good movie. It's just like, why is this being made now other than 50 years of commemoration?
Yeah, I mean, You can ask that question for sure with complete impunity, but it's still a well-crafted movie. Impunity. The intergalactic kegger. You can
wait. What was that from? We're not hosting an intergalactic.
Men in Black.
Men in Black. Yeah. Oh, I haven't.
We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger.
Fucking Rip Torn. I haven't thought about that line in so long.
No, but
we're not hosting an intergalactic kegger.
But
he would have been a really good cast member in this movie.
Oh, God.
Like as one of the TV executives or something. Yeah.
No, the funny part is when Will Smith is imitating him.
Yeah. We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger. And it was honestly perfect. It's such a good. Good.
I love Men in Black, man.
I love Men in Black. I love all three of them.
Third one's second one's pretty good.
I like the third one. It's got a great ending.
I mean, compared to the movies that we have out now, third one's
we won't get another one.
No.
Not with those two.
I mean, Tommy Lee Jones is just old.
He's old, yeah.
Like it's.
And they were gonna do that like Jump Street Men in Black.
Oh God!
crossover.
Please fucking don't.
Oh, I would have loved to see that. That would have been fun.
You know what would be cool is if Kay is dead and there's just. They should have done something where. Now Jay is the mentor to a new recruit.
Yeah.
And
that'd be
just
cool.
like Jin.
And he's now kind of the jaded one.
Yeah, he's the jaded one, and then
like, Kay was in the first movie.
Yeah, and now he has to like mentor a Gen Zer, like
I don't know, like I didn't see the recent one they did with like Chris
International.
Hemsworth. Yeah, Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it, but it's like I feel like that movie would probably have qualities like that. I don't know.
Yeah, we're just gonna not.
I'm never gonna watch that movie.
Neither.
So.
No, but now we have to rewrite Men in Black because we're rewriting every Will Smith movie.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
I mean, I think
because we have good ideas for his career.
I think Hey, Will Smith, call me, man. I got some stuff.
Call Romanus. Let's get this going.
Come on, man.
So, in conclusion, Saturday Night was good. I think people should go watch it. I think it's a good time. Again, it's a good way to spend your Saturday night without actually watching Saturday Night Live.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Any closing thoughts from you?
It's hard to describe what, like, is this a movie what I would say you have to rush to the theaters to go see? No. Like, it's nothing like that.
I saw it in the theater with nobody.
Yeah, I saw it with like 3 people.
Yeah, there was like one person in the back corner of the theater I saw it. And I'm just eating my popcorn and drinking a shake.
Oh my god.
And I'm just like, I'm having a good time, but to be honest, this would probably be more fun with a crowd of people.
If you ever grew up and watched that era of Saturday Night Live, for sure go see it. If this is on, I don't know, Amazon Prime in 2 weeks, then go see it.
It'll have to be, because it is not making money. That's not a dig. That's just economics, man. This movie is bombing.
It's on YouTube TV right now.
There's a bootleg of it on YouTube right now.
I can sell it to you right now.
Yep.
For free.
50 cents. Oh, yeah, free.
Yeah.
50 cents.
You ever hear that joke? I pirated the movie and I wanted my money back. Oh my god.
That's pretty funny. But yeah, it's a fun movie. I enjoyed this movie. I think you had mentioned that there's like, well, I'm sure I've seen this, but I think you had mentioned that there's they've been trying to get some Oscar buzz or something going for this movie.
Yes, Dan Aykroyd tweeted that he loved the movie and that it is a no-brainer for Best Picture nomination.
Well, he's wrong, but
it's
a spirited movie for sure, but it's also still pretty self-indulgent.
Yeah.
Not that like anybody directly affiliated with SNL made this movie, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I mean, again, who gives a shit about SNL? This isn't The Social Network.
But see, you say that, but at the Oscars or just these award shows, if you play the game well, if the producers actually want to get on that circuit and be,
I'm predicting right now this will not get a Best Picture nomination.
Okay.
I think it'll get a nomination for Best Picture Musical or Comedy at the Golden Globes, though.
Okay, sure.
But Dan Aykroyd's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think?
It didn't scream to me that it should be nominated for any award. Like, and I like the movie, but is it fantastic cinema? No. It's a fun movie.
It's like you said, it's a well-made movie. It really is. Mm-hmm. Like it's well written, it's well acted. Again, the cinematography is very good. I love that it feels like it's real time, and it's unique for that reason. It's kind of like a race against time story.
Yeah.
But it's not groundbreaking.
No.
It's not something I completely have never seen before. It's a pretty by the numbers biopic that has enough like uniqueness about it to make it fun to watch. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's going to really get anything at the Oscars.
No, and that's okay.
And it doesn't need to, because it's fun enough on its own without any accolades.
And you know what? Here's another thing where I'm like, actually, I'm okay with this movie existing. For just the number of young actors in this cast, this is a nice little thing to put on your resume.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is a solid movie. Everyone does a great performance. So I think this will get everybody their next job.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Right, like
everybody's really good in this movie.
You got to work with Willem Dafoe and J.K. Simmons.
And it's a really big cast, too.
Yes.
Like, the cast is really big. It's so ensemble-driven, and it works for that reason. Mm-hmm. Everybody gets enough time, except most of the women, as we explained.
Yeah.
Which is, a huge flaw in the movie, too, but it doesn't keep the movie from being enjoyable, I would say.
And there is a lot of heart. There's one scene where Lorne Michaels has gone to a different studio inside of the NBC building.
Oh, yeah, and he's just watching that.
He's watching the other production, and he sees
was that like, what was his name? Garrett from fucking, what was it? Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh, no. I'm talking about something else. You're talking about the bar that he goes to right next to the building.
Yeah.
I'm talking about something else.
Oh, my bad.
No, that's all good.
Brad Garrett, though.
Brad Garrett,
yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He's funny in the movie.
Yeah, he is funny. I like him a lot.
As like a sort of hacky comedian.
Yeah. He just has a random cameo in the movie as this yeah, like you said, hacky comedian.
So Lorne Michaels is looking at this other production just in a different studio in the building, and the production is just like this really Milton Berle dancing with some women.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
And it's really nothing, like it's just there's just nothing interesting.
It's just
shallow TV, and it's very just in opposition of what Lorne Michaels is trying to do, which is just produce a TV show that no one's ever seen before that has the spirit in New York. And as he's looking at this production, he looks over to the director, and it's this guy who's slumped in a chair, just looks completely disinterested in Milton Berle dancing with these beautiful women. And Lorne Michaels is like, just, you can see the clockwork going in his head, like, okay, no matter what, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like fast forward 30 years from now and just be jaded about my work, doing stuff that I don't care about. And I think that's just something relatable.
It is very relatable. And like when you see, like when today when Lorne Michaels is engaging with his cast members and producers, he always seems like he still loves what he does, and the way he talks about what he does, like for SNL, still, it's just like he seems like he always enjoyed doing that. And in that time, he's been a very constant producer of a lot of movies. I mean, he was the producer for Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Tina Fey's Mean Girls.
Yeah. Classic Tina Fey movie.
Exactly. And you can just kind of tell that he just loves this industry quite a bit.
Oh,
and that was a really good kind of way to introduce what he would eventually be characterized as, somebody with a passion for the industry. So yeah, this is a good movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I recommend it. I think it's a fun movie to go see on a Saturday night.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're bored and you see this movie on HBO Max in 2 days, watch it.
Yeah, especially if you have any admiration for SNL in any of its existence.
Absolutely.
You'll definitely get a lot more enjoyment out of this movie.
Yeah.
Because it is, kind of like it's biographical and historical. So, yeah, check it out. So, this has been our first new movie that we've reviewed, like new, fresh in theaters.
In a minute, yeah.
Like since Alien, I think.
Damn. Nothing's been interesting.
Not really.
Like, I've
seen stuff. And some stuff that would be worth talking about, but
I mean, Megalopolis is just 3 hours.
We didn't do it. We didn't do Joker.
No, that's another, I think, 2.5 hour movie, 3 hour movie.
The Beetlejuice movie.
Hell nah.
Yeah, we've been bored.
Fuck that. 8 doobies to the face, nigga. Fuck that.
Pancakes in the kitchen, like whoa. I mixed up all.
I know.
We have fun.
I know.
We have fun.
No, we try.
But
I hate my life.
So yeah, I think we're hopefully gonna. This is kind of like an introduction, I guess, to us getting into like the more award season films, movies that are getting a little bit of talk for and going to be up for awards come the next couple of months here. So we're going to be doing a lot more commentary on that kind of stuff, and I'm excited to do that because I love that competition in the industry, and this is that time of year when the industry starts to get really competitive with some of its heavy hitters. A lot of the stuff will fly under the radar. A lot of it will be a lot more independent. And then you'll have, higher caliber films that will be competing too, like probably the new Gladiator film or Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. And I'm excited. I'm excited for all that stuff. So this is kind of an introduction into that, but I'm ready to get back into some newer movies. We've been having a good Halloween. We've been having a good Halloween month with some retrospective stuff, but I'm ready to get back into some newer stuff coming up here.
Yeah,
so
same.
Hopefully we'll be able to do that. But thank you, as always, everybody, for tuning into another episode of the Loose Leaf Media Podcast. My name is Davis Leaf. I did this with my co-host,
Dan Blackroyd.
Have you been thinking about that one this whole episode? That was good.
I think I've been sitting on it for 5 minutes.
That was pretty good. I like that. I like that one. That was good.
Thank you.
But thank you, everybody. Thank you for everybody for coming to this episode, and we will see you all on the next one.
Adios.
Take care, guys.